thank you so much for taking a moment to speak with us today. We understand you're approaching an incredible milestone in your career as far as 1,600 wins goes, and you've been very successful, and we'd love to just, first of all, get some of your thoughts on, what some of the greatest moments have been in your career and what those have meant to you.
Okay, boy, that's a very, very wide-ranging question, because I started in softball when I was working for a private company, Motorola, and it was club format at that time. Was in it for about 15 years, won 1,200 games as a club ball coach.
Okay, that's a lot of games.
Yeah, and then that gave me the opportunity to come here at Phoenix College back in 1990 when I interviewed for it, and they asked me to come and try out for the head coaching job. And I took it and been here ever since. And I think one of the biggest highlight is getting hired by the college. I went through an extensive hiring at the college. Several people, because of a male figure in a female sport, they wanted to make sure I was, in the right process and what I needed to do to go on from here to develop the program. And that's exactly what happened. Is it took about 10 years to really do the program. And so some of my highlights are just individual wins, but my biggest highlights is the young ladies graduating from here and going on to four-year schools. And we've had really tremendous success. We've had over 275 athletes go on to four-year schools, get scholarships pretty much 90% above, and get not only their AA here, but their BS, and a lot of them have their master's degrees. And so I'm very proud of that. That's probably the biggest thing that I can say. Victories are great, but for our young ladies to mature and develop and become professionals out in the field, it's amazing. I could spend a whole afternoon telling you where everybody's working in their profession right now after 33 years, so I think that's probably my biggest highlight. On the field, that's a whole different ball game.
Absolutely, no, completely understandable. And again, it's very respectable that you've helped so many athletes, get further in their careers. And I just want to know kind of what mindset has kept you kind of driven each day. What motivates you and kind of keeps you going and pursuing success for all these athletes?
Well, I think that's a major reason why I'm here. To facilitate and help these young ladies develop and mature academically, athletically. Not everybody's going to go on and play athletically coming from JUCO ball, but I really, really work hard on making sure that they graduate from here and graduate from four-year school, but then go into the profession that their degree was in. And it's just been fabulous. I've had one of my students operate on my back as a surgeon. I've had one that was an architect for the Paris Hotel in Las Vegas.
Wow.
First female detective in the city of Phoenix. 8 nurses. I've had people work for the United Nations. I've had educators, firewomen as well. You can name auditors, accountants, teachers. It's an array of, and that's really the reason why I got into coaching female athletics, because when I started, Title IX was not in effect, and over the years, Title IX has helped generate equality for women's sports. And so I was on the ground level, and I worked my butt off trying to help develop those young ladies. And
what advice would you give to other coaches, both within softball and as well as within other sports, involving these young athletes and just helping them kind of advance both their careers academically and athletically?
Yeah, I think it's time management, is developing their time management and their self-motivation and drive. We spend time on the mental side of young ladies trying to help them develop, be stronger mentally. But the main thing is success, and it starts in the classroom. And if you have success in the classroom, you'll have success on the field. It's hand in hand. now. So I really try to guide them as far as where they're going. They don't all have to play softball after they leave. That's the cool thing about JUCO is you can play softball at a 2-year school, actually play for a national title, and then go on and finish up your degree. So that's what I looked at when I first started. I said, how can I help these young ladies? Because at that time, it was club ball started in 1975. Okay, so coaching from 75 to 2000 in club ball was just a start.
It's still a long time.
Yeah, that's just before I got here, and then it's 33 years here. It's amazing what a program can do. I don't really think or understand what people think about this program. I don't think they understand it totally what it's all about. It's amazing. I mean, it's a development of young ladies and how they grow older, how they maturate, and how they join society. It's amazing. And I'm privileged to that. I've forgotten more players than getting into my age. Back in the 90s, when we started, those young ladies, I have their daughters. I have grandkids playing for me. It's amazing. It's a family. It really is a family. We've developed a family here. That's the only thing that I always go is, I don't think anybody really understands what this program has done and developed. And that's just not to toot my horn. It's just been a development.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, what specifically do you kind of want your legacy to mean for Phoenix College and just for the sport of softball? Again, you've been extremely successful and you've clearly impacted the lives of a lot of athletes. What legacy do you want to leave behind specifically?
That's it. From an academic standpoint, is the growth of individual athletes and how they end up being successful in their life. I mean, I have a chemical engineer that runs a $250 million satellite division for DuPont. That'd never been associated with playing at a JUCO level.
A lot of people, huh?
Yeah,
You've met a ton along the way, I'm sure.
A lot of people. And then there's a lot of players that I've had that have gone on to top 4-year schools across the country, and playing-wise, athletically really excelled. All-Americans, we've had 170 All-Americans over the years, 170.
Wow.
We've had close to 300 transfer on softball scholarships, no less than 90% scholarships. And the biggest thing that I could attribute our program to, even though it's been really hard and a lot of fundraising and help from our colleges, is that every one of these athletes that came to Phoenix College through financial aid, through honors program, presidential scholarships, and through athletics are all fully funded, every one of them, since 1991. There isn't one get 20%, the other get 50%. They all get fulls.
That's great.
Yeah, that's $50 to $100 million worth of education that's gone through our program. And nobody else has done that. That's big. That is the biggest thing. But we had to fundraise for that. And sometimes we couldn't get all the fundraising money for it. And then the department had to help in that. But those players knew when they came in here that they were taken care of educationally. Because not only did they get paid for here, then they got paid for at least 90% of their scholarship going to, like, I have a girl that's going to the University of California, San Diego. The tuition is $50,000. She pays $5,000. She gets paid $45,000 to go to school in.
Right there. And that's just one student.
That's just one student.
Imagine, yeah.
That's just one student. If I sat down and added up all the money, I'd be president of the United States.
Quite an impact. Quite an impact.
And their
for
families,
sure.
and that's a lot. So it isn't just on the field stuff; it's the off the field stuff that's really highlights the program, and that's what got us good on the field, because people wanted to come to PC and they said, "Hey, you get treated there really well, and they're concerned about your education and they're concerned about your growth," and that's what I really relied on when I first started, because the first 10 years on the field, we're okay, we're pretty good, but from 2000 on to now, we're top 5, 10-time national champion, gone to nationals 20 years, never finished lower than 4th. We have a win percentage of 80% in regional and national tournaments. And how's that happen? It happens.
It's quite impressive.
It's from the players. They come here, as long as they do what we tell them to do, and they work hard on the field. In the classroom, on the field. On the field, you do have to do your share. I mean, you do have to get better. It isn't just given to you. You have to work for it.
I was gonna say, like, take me through some of that on the field stuff. Like who are a couple players specifically this season that have stood out? We'd love to have you highlight some of those.
Well, I mean, we're currently going on right now, and we're trying to capture our conference championship, but we still got 10 games to go, and it's close. We're close. We have a really good sophomore pitching staff. We have 3 pitchers, Alexis Azerman, Sydney Haig, and Alyssa Tinnen. They're all sophomores. All 3 of them are going to go on to 4-year schools, and they're the heart of our team. They're the ones. Pitching and catching is your number 1 asset for playing softball or baseball. You got to have, and we do. We have 3 of them, and they're all versatile and very good. They've all had their share of injuries and concussions and all. We're working through that.
Yeah.
But those 3, and then offensively, Katie Hoffman from Desert Mountain High School is a catcher, freshman, incoming freshman, 5th in the league in hitting, home runs, RBIs. She's really, really good behind the plate too, and very class act individual player. And then we have Denita Hernandez at third base as an All-American, came back, hit 28 home runs this last year, and she's got I think 10 or 11 now. But we're playing a shorter season this year. They cut back our season. We're not playing as many games. So Cheyenne Ben, the second baseman, really, really, really good player. We have several other players that are good, but our pitching and our catching is what drives us. Asia Jones, poor thing, just got hurt yesterday, and I don't know if she has a meniscus tear or not. We're working on that. She's a sophomore, excellent catcher, and hits like crazy. And so I always go on pitching, catching, and hitting. The hitting in JUCO ball can win you a lot of games if you're on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's the hardest skill to do. Pitching is hard. Hitting is hard. It's not easy. It's a day in, day out work. Always working on it.
Always working. And was there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I want to tell you something that I think a lot of people don't know. When I first started, and I was working at Motorola, and I took this job part-time, and I'd work at Motorola till about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, come here, hold practice, try to figure out my vacation days at Motorola on game days here, and then I've changed over here to full-time. I got a job offer here in 1992, and I also became the athletic director here. I was the AD here for 13 years, and then I retired after that, but stayed as a coach. And it has just been amazing the amount of players that have committed to this program and have really worked their butts off to develop it. And the worst thing I hate losing. And those poor young ladies know that I hate losing. And so they have to get their gear, because that's why you're on the field. You're there to compete.
Right.
You're not there just to look good. You're there to beat the other opponent. A lot of time that gets lost because in club ball they get burned out.
Right.
The club teams, they play so much in a lot of sports, and they get burned out. And we've taken a lot of players, they got rejuvenated coming to play softball at PC. We've had over 50 transfers from 4-year schools come back. They're 4-year schools, played freshman year, hated it, came back to PC, rejuvenated them, and sent them out after their sophomore year, and they played the 4-year schools that I knew was going to be successful for them, that the coaches were good people. Because it's so important to have a coach that cares what happens to you. Because if you go somewhere and you're out of state and that coach has to win to keep their job, then you're in trouble as a player if you don't do well. I don't have to worry about losing my job. I didn't have to worry about it at the beginning because I always had my best interest academically for my students. And as long as they are successful academically, coach won't get fired. But they're not going to keep you for 2-50, you know.
Right.
They'll
Well, it
keep
sounds
you for
like
40-2, you know. So it all works out. And I had no aspirations of leaving, because to me this is a development stage for a young lady. I'm going to tell you something. When a 17-year-old young lady student comes to us, and when they leave as a 21-year-old adult, there's a whole different ballgame here, maturity-wise. Then they can go out. I had a player that's a coach of mine that played at Red Mountain High School. She won 4 state titles as a softball player for Red Mountain in a row. She was going to go, and she was a real homebody, and she decided to end up to come here, you know. And terrific All-American player, second baseman. Her name is Alyssa Fernandez. Awesome player. Made 1 error in 2 years, hit like 30 home runs. She's 5 foot. And after her second year here, she went to South Dakota State. South Dakota State, of all places to go to, for a young lady that lives locally and is close to her family. That's the separation of maturity between coming in at 17 and leaving a 21-year-old adult, because you know that you can handle things better mentally wherever
Right.
you're going.
Right.
That makes sense?
It does, yeah.
And we've
Absolutely.
done that year after year. Every year, we bring 10, 11 kids in. Every year, 10, 11 leave.
It sounds like they're lucky to, have you to be a mentor and coach them up.
They get, but not everybody makes those kinds of decisions. And rightfully so, because we're not the only good program in town. You know, we're not the only one. But if they come here, they get treated well.
It's good to hear.
And they got to work their butts, though.
Oh,
They got to
absolutely.
go to class. They got to have good time management, and they have to be self-motivation and driven. Self-motivation is the key to anything. It's like your profession, my profession. If I don't have self-motivation, I can't drive these young ladies to become really, really good.
Absolutely. Well,
That's it, really.
thank you, Coach. I appreciate you speaking to us. Appreciate
Yeah.
your time, and it was an
You bet.
absolute pleasure
It's a
speaking
pleasure.
to you. Thank you.
you.